Your unique story, our global audience. Global One Media.
Welcome to Global One Media's exclusive one-on-one interviews with company executives sharing insights into their unique journey. I'm your host, Ashley Berry, and we're so happy you're with us. We have a great interview today. Alan Frame, Director of Business Development at Prismo Metals, is joining us. The growth stage exploration company is focused on building shareholder value by acquiring, exploring, and developing precious and base metals assets in Mexico. They're listed on the Canadian Stock Exchange as PRIZ and the OTCQB as PMOMF. Alan, thank you so much for being here today.
Well, thank you, Ashley. I appreciate the opportunity.
Wonderful. I'm so glad we're together again. Perhaps for our viewers who are unfamiliar, you could inform them about Prismo Metals and the major milestones you've achieved in 2022.
Yes, I'd be happy to. Thank you. Well, firstly, just a very brief overview of the structure. Fully diluted, we have about 50 million shares outstanding. About 30% of it's owned by the insiders and the founders. And the institutional interest takes up about 20%. And our deal with the Vizsla will take up about 15%. So that's our present structure. And what we've accomplished in 2022 was a couple of capital raises. In May, we raised about $750,000, and we primarily deployed that exploring the Palos Verdes. So we drilled about 3,000 meters at Palos Verdes in the southwestern corner of our claim block. Very successful drilling, which we've largely announced. And we also did some additional work on our Los Pavitos properties, prepping that for early stage exploration and drilling in 2023. So that's a very brief update of what we accomplished in 2022. We also, towards the end of 2022, completed a $3 million private placement with a group of investors that are involved in Vizsla Resources. And that gave us some pretty good treasury money as well.
Wow, incredibly impressive. You know, you're mentioning Vizsla, and for those that aren't familiar, it's Vizsla Silver Corp. Maybe you could tell us about your recent announcement about the non-binding letter of intent, when you expect the final definitive agreement to be signed, and then also how much do they intend to invest in Prismo, and how will that capital be allocated?
Yeah, thanks. That's a great question, Ashley, because the private placement we closed towards the end of last year for $3 million was largely a result, or was directly a result, of the letter of intent with Vizsla to invest $2 million into Prismo. So because of that letter of intent, it encouraged Vizsla institutional investors to give us a call and participate in our company as well, which we're very thankful for. So the letter of intent with Vizsla was recently finalized and became a reality. So they did invest $2 million into Prismo, and it was a bit of a different deal. $500,000 was cash, which we will deploy in the continued exploration at Palos Verdes in 2023. And we also received 1 million shares of their stock. I think it was at $1.48, which we intend to hold as an investment. And that was at the time worth $1.5 million. It's already appreciated. So we have a significant investment in Vizsla. We have we're going to form and are forming a committee to determine how we will continue to explore Palos Verdes. And it'll be a 3-man committee. We'll have one rep, their VP exploration from Vizsla, and Craig Gibson, and a third party yet to be named. And they will decide and determine the best way for us to continue exploration on the Palos Verdes property. And the deal had a ton of synergies because the geological settings are basically the same for both us and them. They originally, when they had their first discovery that shot them into prominence, they are the dominant player in the area for sure. They had a strike length of about 400 meters, and they were successful in their drilling, and that kind of got people turned on to their company and their exploration programs. And ours is, although our project is smaller than theirs, it's part of the same geological setting, and we have a strike length of about 700 meters. So I think that's why they were interested. And last but not least, it makes lots of sense upon success to have one operating mine and mill in the area. Probably not so much sense to have two. And lastly, again, Vizsla has been consolidating the area because of the tremendous success that they've been achieving there. So we're very fortunate that we're a part of their program, and we're looking forward to working together. And of course, they gain the expertise of Doctors Gibson and McGaw and Raphael, who together have over 100 years experience in Mexican exploration. So it's pretty good for both companies. We're very, very pleased with it.
Oh, thank you so much for explaining that, because that was one of the things I was going to ask, is really, what attracted them to Prismo Metals and what attracted you to them. And so kind of explaining those synergies and working together, I think is really helpful. And it sounds like you already have a mission forward for 2023 when it comes to Vizsla Silver Corp. Maybe we can talk a little bit about some other priorities that you're focused on in the year ahead.
Sure. Well, we're also very keen on commencing a drill program on Los Pavitos, which is a much larger project. But what we're waiting for right now for both Palos Verdes and Los Pavitos is permits. For example, going back to, not to digress, but going back to Palos Verdes for a moment, we've only been able to explore about 30% of our structure because of the permitting. So we're awaiting a permit, which we expect any day. Once we get that, we'll be able to explore the other 70%, which so far we've been unable to even set foot on. So, we're really excited about that. We did, on going back to Palos Verdes, we did, or Los Pavitos, I should say, we did a LiDAR survey, and we see lots of targets there. So we're excited about that. We've made an application which will allow us to drill there. We're going to do some additional work on the surface, setting up drill sites. And once we receive our permit, we will initiate a drill program there. And I think that's going to be very exciting. It's a huge area of play, and it's largely untouched, but it's got a lot of really good signs. So it'll be a very exciting exploration project for shareholders, and we're quite anxious to get after it. And
Yeah,
of course, now we're really well funded. We're sitting there with over $3.5 million cash, still drawing no salaries, I must say. The guys didn't want to take any money. They want the money to go into the ground. So we're going to do our best to crank up some good resource value for shareholders in 2023.
Wow, very admirable. I find those LiDAR surveys so fascinating. And when you talk about, there's some certain targets, really exciting. And I'm looking forward to hearing what it is you find and what is there. Let's talk a little bit more about this agreement. It entails the formation of a joint technical committee. So what are the roles and responsibilities of this committee, and how will this help with your current projects?
Well, I think the bigger picture is how will it help with the whole area, in that project. So if assuming that we can create a resource that has value, and, we're optimistic that we'll be able to, that will now obviously dovetail into Vizsla's plans, their bigger plans for future exploration and production. So we'll gain the benefit of their knowledge, and they'll gain the benefit of ours. So I think it'll be really good. And an important part of our agreement with them is that they have the first right of refusal on Palos Verdes, meaning that if we're successful there, we have enough resources to make them economically extractable. It's likely that Vizsla will take that project over 100%. That's the idea behind the first right of refusal. Now, they don't have to do that, but if we find enough, to make a commercial discovery there, they have the right to take it on. So that committee will be really good, because they'll be looking into the future as one entity instead of two. So we'll gain lots of benefit from them, because, they're extremely active and they're drilling many, many more meters than we are. So we gain that knowledge, they gain our knowledge, and, if it's all successful, it'll all come together under one roof at the end of it.
Wonderful. And here in the next couple of weeks, you'll be attending the Vancouver Resource Investment Conference. Very exciting. Do you have any specific programs targeted for potential investors, and how are you going to get them excited about all these amazing things I'm hearing right now?
Well, for one thing, we will be exhibiting at booth 612, 612. And the person that will be running the booth is none other than Craig Gibson, Dr. Craig Gibson, the CEO. So, you're going to be sitting there talking to the man that's creating all the projects and the activity. So that's one thing which we're very, very happy about, that he'll personally be there doing that. He'll also have core samples from our latest drill program, which are pretty exciting. And you can see the similarities between our samples and Vizsla's, which is what created that strategic investment, of course. So there's that, and then we also have a luncheon that we're co-hosting with Vizsla. It's a special luncheon for 100 investors. Unfortunately, it's sold out. Fortunately for us, it is sold out. So we're looking forward to that. And last but not least, if you drop by the booth and say hello to Dr. Gibson, we're also going to have a draw for 10 ounces of silver. So if you register yourself at our booth, you might go home with a poke of silver in your pocket.
Oh, I think people are very excited to hear this. So let's, do you have the specific dates? And I know you said booth 612.
Yeah, it starts on Monday and runs through for about 3 days. That booth will be going all the time. The first luncheon is, I think, on Sunday on the 29th. That one, the one that's sold out. But the booth will be running throughout the entire program, and I encourage everybody that's interested in Prismo to drop by and say hello and speak directly with Craig Gibson, who's our chief explorer on Palos Verdes.
So again, you're going to be at booth 612. Specifically, it's January 30th and 31st. Is that correct?
Yes, although there are some other things that occur on the 29th. So it actually starts on the weekend on the Sunday, which is a little strange. But, there's a lot of presenters and a lot of activity. And you kind of need those extra days to fit in everything that we and others are trying to accomplish.
Yeah, it sounds like you have big plans for those 3 days. Alan, so many positive developments taking place. What does this mean for Prismo's current shareholders?
Well, I think firstly, because of our capital structure, if we have success in our exploration programs, and we believe we will, certainly on Palos Verdes and Los Pavitos, where it's new, so we'll see. But this company should have a lot of torque. So if we can, improve our value through the drill bit, through drilling, I think it'll be easily reflected in the share price. And the fact that, on going back to Palos Verdes, that we only could get on to 30% of it, and we had great success with that 30%. Makes me personally excited about what the other 70% looks like, because that's the bulk of the structure. So we're going to do our best to create some interest and excitement and real value through the drill bit in 2023.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot in store for 2023. Alan Frame, Director of Business Development at Prismo Metals. Always a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you so much for sharing these impressive insights and updates, I should mention. We at Global One look forward to sharing more updates with our audience.
Thank you very much, Ashley. It's been a pleasure.